Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girlz. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here are your supernatural hosts, Patricia Baker and Becky Andreasson. Supernatural Girlz.
Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girlz. I am your host, Patricia Baker, and I am here tonight with my new co-host, the famous Becky Andreasson. Welcome, Becky.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you so much, and I want to say hi to everybody out there. I'm so excited to be your co-host on Supernatural Girlz.
Yay! This is going to be so much fun. Oh, my goodness.
I know.
This is great. I mean, you come from quite a long legacy of paranormal events. And, my goodness, for people who may not know, your mother is a UFO legend, Betty Andreasson. And Betty was the subject of 5 books, starting with the Andreasson Affair, which was on the New York Times bestseller list. So, and you were a part of all of it.
Yes, I was born into this legacy, and I've dealt with the paranormal world all my life, and still to present day.
To present day, my goodness. Well, I know you bring a tremendous amount of experience with all things paranormal and supernatural to the show, so this is going to be super exciting. And I'm privileged to work with you. This is just great.
Thank you. And I, too, with you.
Super. Well, we're going to make a great team here. And I want to make sure to remind everybody to go to supernaturalgirlz.com and sign up for our newsletter. Because when you're all signed up for the newsletter, you can participate in the book giveaways. We have those weekly, and we also have some discounts on terrific products. So take a look through the site, and you will see we also have a supernatural store where Becky's prosperity prayer from the elders is available, and can't think of a better Christmas gift to give someone than this prosperity prayer. It's easy. All you have to do is click on it. It's downloaded. You've got it. You can start listening to it immediately. So that's on supernaturalgirlz.com website. So make sure you take a visit over there. And, Becky, we're going to be doing something really cool. I should say you are. At the end of every show, you're going to be delivering a message. So tell us more about that.
Yes, I will have a very special message for a listener out there, straight from the elder. And that will be at the end of the show, and I will give my message. And so I hope whoever is listening will be very excited about this message because it's for them.
Oh, that's terrific. And you're going to be doing this every week, every single show.
Yes, actually, I prayed about this, and I got very good energy back and answer back. Yes, they want to reach out. The angelic realm loves humanity and wants to reach out to them, and there will be a very special message for a listener at the end of every show, and I am totally committed to do this.
Oh, gosh. Well, this is a great blessing, and I know you've been giving their first name, and so, again, stay tuned because we've got a great show coming up, and certainly I can't wait myself to hear what this message is, even though I know it's not for me personally. I just can't wait to hear what the elders have to say for this lucky person in our audience.
Yeah.
So that's terrific. And I know also we're going to just step over to Power Preppers, which is a new radio show that's under the auspices of Supernatural Girls. And a lot of people have been listening to Power Preppers, and that airs every Thursday afternoon, 1 to 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Now, last week, we discussed some really important life-saving techniques with security expert Steve Minguez, and we did part 2 of How to Survive a Home Invasion. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to that show, I suggest that you do part 1 and part 2. They're both archived on the supernaturalgirls.com site. You can listen to them, download them, and listen to them at your convenience. But these are some really important shows. Becky, this is scary to me, but it's true. I have to just give the FBI statistic. Every 12 seconds, there's a home invasion in this country. So it's something that, unfortunately, is a reality we all have to face. It could happen to anybody, and it's good to raise your level of awareness, be prepared. Yeah. So anyways, those were the last 2 shows that we did. But next week, we're going to be talking about something called double helix water.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Oh, yes, I thought so, too. Now, don't ask me what it is.
Wow. Well, I'm going to be listening. Wow, that is awesome. Double helix water.
Yes, apparently this is a whole different kind of structured water that has multiple benefits. So we're going to be finding out more about this mysterious stuff. And I can tell you from so far what I've read, this is something everybody's going to want to keep on hand and in their prepper pantry, and probably going to want to start using it daily. So be sure to join us, and that, again, is Thursday, 1 to 2 o'clock. And, of course, everything's archived. So if you missed the show then, you can always listen to it later. So anyways, but we've got some pretty cool paranormal news that's a little disturbing, but it's something I thought we should talk about. And that is this icon of the Archangel Michael in Greece has started to shed tears.
Oh, wow.
Now, I know you saw the portrait. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, this is exactly what it's doing. And they said they inspected the back of the painting, to make sure there was no tiny little hose put in there, no pump with water, so it wasn't any kind of a ruse that anybody was doing. But that, in fact, it was real. And in our newsletter this week, we included that photograph. There's also a video, and that link you can also find from the newsletter, and take a look at it. It's amazing. I guess women who had come to this cathedral had seen it and reported it, and then everybody started coming and flocking to the area to see this amazing feat. But I mean, it kind of makes me nervous. What do you think?
Yeah. Yes, it makes me nervous too. I mean, the Archangel Michael crying, he's the top chief, the warrior, and he's crying. He's supposed to protect mankind and love mankind. Wow, that is really, really powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just stunned. When I heard this and seen this, I was stunned.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard before about, I think Mother Mary and the Virgin Mary, different statues that have started to, show the signs of stigmata or tears again. But this I have never heard of before. Now, maybe I'm out of the loop a little bit, but I have not heard of this before with Archangel Michael.
I know. Why would he even be crying? I mean, being the chief of all the angels and fighting the spiritual battle up there, it's almost like his heart is breaking, and for what? What in the world is going to happen to have the Archangel Michael crying?
Yeah, and again, it makes me think, too, about this horrible storm that just occurred in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And devastating. Now they're saying as many as 10,000 people might have died, might have perished due to this terrible storm, which they say is the worst on record. So
I know, the most powerful they've ever seen.
Yes.
Ever.
So we certainly have a lot of things happening on the planet with Mother Nature that it's, I guess, Native Americans would call this a cleansing, and it certainly seems to be that. And then, of course, there's all these earthquake swarms. There were a lot of them on the New Madrid Fault that I've been watching, a lot of them in California. I know we were discussing that. A lot of them under Yellowstone. Any of these hot spots, it's concerning, and I wonder if that has anything to do with this icon and this setting of tears.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
true.
It's
true.
Kind of gives me the willies a little bit, but again, we are in a different time frame now. It seems like time is moving very quickly. There's a lot of things happening around us, and we do need to raise our level of awareness and also our connection to the people we love, to spirit, all of those things. It seems like we're being called.
It sure does. It sure does. And it shows us there, and then in other areas, like even we were talking earlier, even with the Native Americans, like you said, cleansing the earth. And then also, they would speak about it like the Thunderbirds. The Thunderbirds protect man like Michael protects man. But, of course, also comes the storms. They say that in Evan's book, which was so interesting. What a great book. Oh my gosh.
I know. I can't wait to get him on the air. I mean, he's just an incredible expert on birds and shamanism and all of what these messages are.
Well, the Thunderbirds is supposed to be right under the Creator, and they're supposed to protect man against these serpent beings, that want to harm man. So, I mean, it makes you wonder even there. They go blasting around and making the storms and earthquakes and rain and the sea rise and everything, but they're not there really to hurt man. They were there to attack serpent beings.
Well, again, we've done a good job of hurting ourselves, I think. Unfortunately.
Sad to say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've done kind of a terrible job caretaking the planet and also the animals, the birds. When you read Evan's book, and Evan is our guest tonight for those who haven't read our newsletter, and Evan Pritchard is the author of Bird Medicine, The Sacred Power of Bird Shamanism, and he has done a great job with this book. This book is available on Amazon.com, and Becky and I both read it, and I know we both recommend it highly.
Oh,
and he does talk about that, about how the birds have been horribly decimated by pesticides and different things like that. And certainly we've all read about all of a sudden you'll see these birds dropping out of the sky, and they'll say, we don't know what's causing it, and all of a sudden there's these massive deaths of these birds. But anyways, it certainly is something to give us pause and things that we should be questioning about how we're managing our own environment. But anyways, I know that you have had some incredible experiences with birds, and you are also part Native American.
Yes, I have Mohawk in me. My grandmother's mother was full-blooded Mohawk. So I come from Massachusetts, and I have Mohawk lineage within me. And I was reading Evan's book, and oh my gosh, I've seen so many things throughout his book that I've experienced growing up as a child and never connected it, to the Native American. Never connected it. And it was just amazing. It was amazing.
Now, you said you used to take a feather in your hand and you could actually call to the bird.
Yes. He has in his book about a sacred thing with the eagle feather. They hold up the eagle feather, which the eagle is the highest one bird, and it's like a phone stick, they call it, or a phone to the spiritual realm and the Creator. Well, when I was a little girl, like 6 years old, up in Westminster, Massachusetts, out in the country, in the field, in the pine woods, I would go out and have fun searching for feathers, among the pine needles and in the fields. And most of the time I'd find the robin or the blue jay feathers. And once in a while, pretty black crow feathers and that. And I would pick them up and hold them up in the air and twirl them with my index finger and thumb and tell the birds, I've got your feather. Do you want it back or can I keep it? When I was little.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, truly, I mean, especially the blue jays, I used to hold it up, and don't you hear a blue jay screeching out and coming over and being on the branch and absolutely talk to me. It was like, wow. And I'd say, okay, here's your feather, and I'd leave it on the rock, and I'd run down the field, and, I never seen the bird go get the feather. And sometimes I didn't see the feather later, and sometimes it was there, and I figured, well, it was there. He didn't want the feather, so I took it home, and I'd collect the feathers. But these birds would show up when I held it up, and I didn't even realize I was doing, that little ceremony type thing. And it must have been because it was in
the Native American ritual.
Yeah, I was so amazed and so thrilled when I seen that in here. And I was doing it as a little 6-year-old and 7-year-old with the bird feathers already. It was just amazing.
See, that just says how connected you are to all of this, to creation, to the birds. And I know that you're very close to animals in general, but what a beautiful experience. And now you get to find out how connected this is to Native American tradition through Evan's book. That's terrific.
It's amazing. And it just so happens here in Virginia where I live in a bird sanctuary area.
Oh,
isn't that amazing?
My goodness. That is amazing.
I'm telling you, the trail of life keeps putting you in where you're supposed to be with your DNA and your lineage.
It is true. And, here where we are in Massachusetts, I've talked often about the barred owls. There's so many of them in this area. There's many other birds also, hawks and other beautiful birds. But the barred owls, I love to call to them, and they answer back. So It's been a lot of fun at night when I hear them, and I'll call to them, and I'll move closer and closer and closer. And one night, they actually were right outside my window, and it was so beautiful to hear that strong, strong voice. And those things get really large. Their wingspan can be like 5 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, you want to keep your kitties inside.
Yeah, I think so. My poor kitties. Well, they know they can't touch the birds, so I guess I'd have to tell the birds, don't touch the kitties.
That's right. And, I've heard people say, well, the birds, are very lightweight and they can't possibly pick up a cat. But I've heard tales about these birds picking up cats and carrying them away. So
yes, I
people
believe
need to be
that.
cautious about it. Yes, with the owls especially. So
yes, but they're beautiful.
I know people are incredulous about it, but again, I've talked to animal control officers who've lost their own cats that were standing right next to them that way. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to have to be on the lookout because we have 2 owls that come here once in a while, and it's like, gee, I didn't think they could pick up my kitties. Oh.
Well, again, if they're barred owls and they have that big wingspan, I guess from the momentum they can pick them up and just cart them off. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Well,
you don't want to lose
something.
Princess.
I'll just have to say a prayer and ask them, please don't pick up my kitties, please. That's it.
Well,
I have hawks around here, though.
Oh, see, so
yes,
you do need to be
beautiful.
aware. Yeah, they are beautiful, and I love hawks. In fact, there are some here, and when I walk my dogs, they follow me down the driveway. And
aren't they beautiful?
They are. They're so graceful. They're so graceful and so powerful. And again, there's so much medicine with all of these birds, and they have so much to teach us, but we've long since lost our ability to communicate, I think, except for you, because you've been doing that for so long. But so many of us, and this is what I see is so powerful about Evan's book, it's all about meaning. It's all about connection. It's all about the communication that the birds have among themselves and then how they try to communicate with us dumb humans. So It's it's all about that. And you look at how many people live their lives and they have lost that connection, they've lost that meaning, and things are so plastic. So I can understand why we are, as a culture, suffering with so much depression and just loss of direction.
That's true. And when one little thing happens with a bird that pays attention to you and you notice they're paying attention to you or trying to tell you something, I mean, because we're not connected, a lot of us aren't connected like that, it's like a miracle. People are just like, oh my gosh, listen to what happened to me. It's like a miracle. But that could be our everyday life if they really paid attention.
That's right. If they would listen or learn how to listen. And I think that's what Evan teaches. You know, he's also a professor, and he teaches Native American Studies at Pace University and Vassar College and Marist College, and now he's the director of the Center for Algonquin Culture. So he really does like to spread the word about all of this. And he is the author of this book, Bird Medicine. He's also written a couple of others, including Native New Yorkers and No Word for Time. And he's also a regular on other radio shows such as NPR's Fresh Air, and he's also a regular on the History Channel. Wonderful. And he lives in the Hudson Valley of New York. So we are awaiting his arrival, and as soon as he gets here, we're going to just throw him right on the air.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. That sounds good to me. I'd like to ask him, too, as you know, you've seen the picture that I caught of, like I said, I have hawks here, and I sit out on my back patio, and, I mean, they swoop down all around and watch me. I just enjoy them so much. But I did manage to catch a picture of a hawk right above me in flight in broad daylight, beautiful sunny day, with a huge white shiny orb under its wing. And I think I showed you that picture. I would love to know if that has any type of meaning to the Native Americans.
That's a great question for Evan. And I think he may have just gotten on the board. So we'll give him a couple minutes to catch his breath, and then we're going to throw him right on the show and ask him all these questions, because there is so much to this book and all of the knowledge that he has about birds and what they're trying to tell us. So I especially want to hear about the crows.
Oh, I love crows. They're so beautiful and talented and smart.
They are. You know, that's the thing that he writes about in the book, too, about how intelligent they are. And I can't wait to hear more about that, because I guess they're on par with the structure of the human brain. And they can figure things out and make tools. I mean, I want to hear about that. I believe incredible.
It. And they talk. They talk. My dad, they had the tongue of the crow cut, and he had a pet crow named Jimmy, and he spoke.
See? That's incredible. Well, Evan has arrived, everybody. So let's get him on the air.
Okay.
Hi, Evan.
Hi, how are you, Patricia?
We are great, and welcome to Supernatural Girls.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be on.
Well, we were just talking about your book and how many questions we have for you. This is a wonderful book that you've written.
Thank you. It's been fun.
There's so much to it. I mean, we were just talking about our own experiences while we were waiting for you with birds and different things. And Becky, you probably didn't get a chance to listen to the beginning of the show. Becky is part Mohawk and has had some wonderful experiences with birds as a young child. But certainly this book is just filled with all kinds of personal stories throughout the Native community and all of the messages that birds have been trying to give to us. And I think a lot of us have stopped listening, but you clearly are still listening. So how did you get involved with all of this? Is it through your Aunt Helen, that you talk about in the book?
Yes, I would have to say it definitely has a lot to do with Aunt Helen. You know, when I was 13, they let me meet her. They were afraid what would happen, but she was, she kind of picked me. She said, we have this very ancient tradition of the Micmac people, and you're the one who has to carry it on, and the big heavy weight comes down, and she talked about the birds, and I could see that she had an extraordinary relationship with the birds, and in fact she had a crow, a talking crow, that she you cut the membrane underneath the tongue and clip the very tip of the tongue, and then they talk or learn to talk. And she had a talking crow in her shed, and when people always come to visit her animals, because she was famous for her relationship with animals was extraordinary, and I think this comes out of being native. And it would get very hot in the summer in the sheds because there was no air conditioning. And she would always be very polite, and people would come in and say, "Oh, it's so hot in here," and she'd, "Oh, well, it doesn't bother me," But then the crow would start saying, "Hell, it's hot. Hell, it's hot. Hell, it's," in her accent, And so the cat's out of the bag. Obviously, when she's alone, she would, swear and like a sailor. But she had several crows, and they were. I think that was the grandson of a crow that she used to have. I think his name was Timmy, not Jimmy. But she would take him around, and he would do tricks and catch coins and different things, to entertain. And so crows, yes, really are very intelligent. But so I saw all these things at 13. And she says, "I'm a Micmac, and that means you are too, and you need to get used to it and learn all these things." So she started to teach me, and most of it's over my head, especially the birds. And I really didn't feel like I understood how she did these things, or like what the trick was. Other things I understood, pretty immediately, but the bird thing I did struggle with, and it just took me a long time. My sister had the knack for the birds, and she also met Helen about that time. It was almost as if Helen pointed her finger at me and I ducked and it hit my sister, because she had that rapport, still does, with raptors and all kinds of birds. And so she started to, teach me things, not that many years ago. So what happened was, of course, birds are part of Native culture all the time. But in terms of actually communicating with birds, and understanding deeper, that was only like 3 years ago. I got a phone call from a lawyer, believe it or not, who wanted me to testify in a Native American case, that they were saying that these different environmental hazards were harming the birds and it was interfering with their ceremonies because you need live birds to bring messages. And he says, "I want you to really have a good argument that birds are an important part of Native spirituality." So I said, "Sure." And, I went to the Library of Congress, and they said, "Well, we don't have any books on that." So I figured I better write one. So I talked to 200 people, mostly elders, and I asked them, why is bird so important in spirituality of the Native people? And they would say, "Well, I don't know how to answer that, but let me tell you a story." And always great stories, incredible stories. And so it's the accumulation of the stories that actually answers the question of the book. So the book kind of asks the question, okay, why are birds important in Native spirituality? But really the answer is in the experience. And you have it vicariously in the book by you reading all these, incredible encounters with birds that Native people have. And so I hope through writing it dramatically and effectively that I've made it more than vicarious, so that people actually get that feeling and then maybe open up their hearts to birds. And, of course, that's the key, I think. Once you open up your heart to the birds, they open up to you more and tell you stuff. Tell you things.
They sure do, yeah. I mean, you're talking about, again, filling your life back up with meaning, and the communication among birds and animals and people is profound. But as Becky and I were discussing before you came on the air, that so many people have really lost that connection, and lost the connection with themselves as well. So it's dire straits for many people. But I loved reading your book. I know, Becky, you did as well.
Yes, it was beautiful.
It is a beautiful book. It's just beautiful. And you talk a lot about, people who have gotten into trouble with the law or had hard times in their lives, but yet they were led to a new place by birds.
Yes. you can't limit what a bird could do. I mean, you can't name a problem that they can't help you with, but you can't predict how they're going to help you. It's like every case is different, so that's why I'm going to have so many stories. But people know, when they're really attuned, they look at the birds and they know things. It's amazing.
Well, yeah. I mean, you were saying how you were even directed to write down a list of 12 things, was it?
Yes.
That was beautiful, too, kind of like words to live by. And can you tell that story and how that happened? Yeah,
that was very unusual. I had a relationship with a very old elder, William Commanda, who's well known in Canada, and looked to him as my grandfather, and he looked to me as his grandson. And I was traveling through the snow across Canada in the middle of winter, and that can be some quite ponderous snow. And I was going overnight, and I got out in the middle of the night, like 5 a.m. I got out of the car near this particular lake that I was very interested in, and I had this kind of mystical experience with the spirit of the lake, and it started giving me all these teachings and saying, I knew I was maybe not going to be in Canada as much as I used to be, and I wanted to have something to say to my friends and send them if I couldn't visit. And so this spirit started to tell me all these things, and there was 12 things to remember. And so that doesn't really involve birds directly, but I was kind of writing down notes, and then I drove, and I kept driving across the country. And about 8 in the morning, I found myself in my elder's backyard there, and in the parking space. And I don't know how that happened. I got out, and I thought it was a little early to wake them up, but I went there, and they were already awake, and they were all excited, and they ran down the stairs and brought me up, and they said, something incredible's happening. Do you have some message or something? I said, yes, I have these 12 teachings, or 12 birds, I guess call them, because I had already decided, I think, to call them birds. And they said, well, just as you were arriving, these 12 birds came to the window and started making all this racket, and they were still in the trees. They had gone from the window. When I knocked on the door, they jumped from the window to the trees, and there were actually 24 of them, I think, in the tree. And he said, this has never happened before. These birds are very special. And I looked at them, and they were like angelic birds. They were gold-colored mourning doves with blue eyes.
Oh, my goodness.
White. But they were mostly gold-colored, and they were, natural gold. And I never really did find, I think I found a species from, like, Australia or something that looked like them. They must have escaped or something from some cage or something. I don't know, but they were so beautiful. And this is the kind of bird that William Commando, always looked to birds for signs, so the most important signs in his life. And a bird once saved his life because he was dying of cancer, and his life was going, nowhere. They gave him 3 months to live, according to the story.
Oh my
and
goodness.
So he went to he was praying, saying, please, Creator, take me, play me or trade me, take me and use me for your work, or just let me go. And at that moment, a bird came, and again, a really unusual bird that nobody knows what it was. He said it was a rossignol, which, he speaks French. It's like, that's like a nightingale. So he claimed a nightingale, or some bird like one, came to his window and started talking to him and singing to him, and everything changed in his life, and he was healed. And he did extraordinary things after that, bringing peace to nations, Native American nations, and he was given the Seven Fires belt and the Friendship belt and the J belt. It was extraordinary change in his life. And so he always looks for birds. So when he saw those golden doves, he thought, there's some message that is so extraordinary. And I knocked on the door at 8 a.m. in the snow, being that, I live in New York, near the city, right? And he's way up in Canada. It's like, okay, Anyway,
wow.
that's why I called them the 12 birds. And they're in the book, and they're things to remember as we're on the Red Road. And so that was a while ago, but it turned out, the bird medicine book turned out to be the best book to, you know, to pass them along, and I try to remember them myself, you know.
They're wonderful tenets to live by, and I have them right here. I mean, it's love and serve the Great Spirit in all you do, honor Earth in your thoughts, words, and actions. Yes. Have fun, enjoy life, play, but be a responsible citizen of Earth. Mm-hmm. Honor and respect all spiritual traditions rooted in the great harmony. Speak from the heart. I love that. This is beautiful. Speak from the heart, but keep an open mind. Remember to learn, and then learn to remember. Meditate.
Like that.
Isn't that great? Meditate often on the silence or on the voice of the wind. Tranquility is the crossing place to the other side.
Right.
Pray not for things, but that you become closer to Manitou. Trust God by entrusting yourself with the freedom to be as God made you. Ever hone yourself as a better tool of the Creator. Humble yourself before the Creator does it for you. Speak truthfully, but with kindness, as we are one spirit.
Those are beautiful.
You know, as you're reading those, I'm not looking at the page, but listening to you, and it reminds me of that moment at the lake. Just the way you said it, that's how it came, just like that in those words.
It's just what a message you were given. I mean, these are the commandments as far as I'm concerned, right here.
Well, they're simple. They're really simple. And they're not political, and they're not about, you know, one particular, I guess, you know, system. It's pretty universal, I think, and pretty simple. So I hope people can do them.
Yeah, well, yes, let's hope we can, because we need to do these types of things, and especially this honor and respect all spiritual traditions rooted in the great harmony. I mean, I love that. I mean, you encapsulated all tenets in that of what we should be doing, and that not one is better than the other, but all that we respect need to be rooted in the great harmony. This is really incredible. You must have been so connected when you wrote this.
I had been with, you know how it is when you go without sleep for a while. You get very open. And it was when I got out of the car, and this was, I'll think of the lake in a bit, but it's the lake that there had been some environmental concerns about. And, you know, so I wanted to pray for the well-being of the lake, and this Manitou was like, hey, thank you, you know, and then this was just rolling forth. And the snow was, you know, snow has this incredible quality where it silences everything, and it's a deep silence, and you can hear you know, the breathing of God almost, and it's so quiet. And I just finished a book called The Snow Tree about that, about how snow opens people's hearts to the magic of life. And some people curse the snow. And in the story called The Snow Tree, that it doesn't snow anymore, and there's a native boy who realizes it's probably global warming, but then he has a dream about his grandfather and tells him, well, you know, people are not living right, they're out of balance, and they're cursing the snow when it falls, and that, you know, their hearts are closed, that's why it's not snowing. And he turns to the boy and he says, you know, you have youthful, you know, energy, your heart is young, and you know, you're the one who can do something. And the boy says, what could I do? And the old grandfather, this isn't a dream, he says, I don't know, but you know, use your imagination.
Wow.
And he manages to do a ceremony that makes it snow, only, of course, it might not be the ceremony, it might just happen to snow coincidentally. So, but yeah, it's that silence that opens your heart to beauty, and I felt that at that lake. And it was, you know, 5 a.m, and I hadn't slept in a while, and I was all alone, and the silence was just absolute. You know, it was like Kelvin for temperature. It was, I mean, the temperature was cold. Canada was probably below zero, but the silence was down to absolute zero. You know what I'm saying? The noise level.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, both Becky and I are familiar with snow.
Yeah. Yes, we sure are. And it's on its
so
way
Becky,
here.
where are you living, Becky?
I'm in Virginia now, but I was born and raised in Massachusetts.
Oh, you get some snow there in Massachusetts.
Oh, yes. And we've got snow coming it says it's coming this coming week, so we shall see. I love snow. The only thing I don't like is to drive vehicles in snow. Other than that, walking in snow, seeing it, playing in it, even sitting quietly in it. Snow is beautiful, purifying. It's purifying.
Yes, it does that. It's very pure.
Yeah, so you had this magical moment there where this information came through you, and I'm so glad you wrote it down and it's a part of your book so we can all share it. And everybody can find your book on Amazon.com. It's called Bird Medicine, The Sacred Power of Bird Shamanism. And I'm just going to take a couple minutes to take a quick break, Evan, and we're going to come right back. We've got a lot of questions for you about the birds you've written about. And so just everybody stay tuned. If you've got a question for Evan, please call 646-478-0828. And stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back.
Ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With Cosmic Fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Sometimes life can be a challenge. Would you like insight and guidance to help you make the best choices right now? Contact Helene at angelslighthouse.com to make your personal appointment for a psychic reading or energy alignment. Helene is a direct channel to the angelic realm and is remarkably capable of connecting to the living as well as to your loved ones on the other side. Helene is available to clients all over the world via phone or Skype, and it's simple to set up a group reading anywhere. Visit angelslighthouse.com, where you'll find an easy way to schedule right online. And while you're there, sign up for the Angels Lighthouse newsletter and receive information on all the free energy circles, giveaways, and jewelry with a message. Visit angelslighthouse.com and contact Helene today.
everybody. We are speaking with Evan Pritchard, who is the author of Bird Medicine, The Sacred Power of Bird Shamanism. So, Evan, welcome back again. And again, Becky and I have so many questions for you. Becky, do you want to start with your favorite bird questions?
Yes, I do. I would like to know, what bird have you interacted with most of your life?
Oh,
the most.
No, I don't know if I'd say one. I connected with seagulls. Let me tell you a seagull story.
Okay.
There's lots of stories about seagulls in my book, but, sometimes we don't understand for a long time what, the message is, because we have a missing piece of information that somebody should have told us. When I was about, again, remember, 13, I met on Helen, and then shortly thereafter, I was walking along the beach, and I got to this special spot that I feel was a place of power for me. And this seagull came swooping down and dropped a very large live fish at my feet.
Wow.
And for a seagull, this is a great gift. This is worth something to them. And so he dropped it nicely, at my feet, big thud, and it's swiggling around. And then the seagull kind of screams and goes off. And I pick it up. I think, here I am standing here on the beach with this fish in my hands, And I thought, I'm not hungry. Sorry, thank you, but I'm just not hungry right now. And I figured, well, I don't want anything to happen to the fish, so I threw the fish back in the ocean and swam away. And, I felt that the seagull had spoken to me and was making me a relative. And the following winter, and speaking of winter, I was in Maine in the winter that next time, and, oh, my gosh, the seagulls were everywhere, and they were speaking to me. And I went to that space, was deep under the ground, was 6 feet under snow, 6 feet of snow. So I never fully understood, but I used the name, seagull after that, and Gwillin in the French Canadian, which I'm French Canadian Micmac, and Guerlons, and used it for a long time. And while I was writing the Bird Medicine book, and now we're talking about a year or so ago, I was asking some family members if they had any bird stories or different things. But, this and that, or anything about native traditions, and they were pretty tight-lipped as usual. And then somebody who doesn't ever talk about tradition said, oh, by the way, your grandfather, this is a Maine accent, your grandfather
right.
would walk along the beach at dawn, and there's a certain spot there, down at the bottom of Atlantic Avenue there, right at the bottom, right where the tide is at dawn, and that's where the sun comes up and creates that red road along the waves. And at a certain point, the red road reaches the sand, and he would stand there at dawn, and he would place a pinch of tobacco down on the edge of the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. And he would say a prayer for all his family and all his descendants, that would include you. And that's that spot. And I suddenly realized everything made sense. After 40 years of searching for the answer, it was that simple. My grandfather, that was the spot where my grandfather did his morning prayers with the traditional, with the tobacco.
Beautiful.
With the seagulls. And he was praying for me, even though we never really got to know each other because he died fairly young. But not only was the seagull a messenger of him, he was giving me a present, the fish, only it was the seagull, of course, and you can't explain that. But also, when I went back, that spot was 6 feet under. Well, what does that mean? It was 6 feet under snow, which is the purification. It's 6 feet under. It's also when Mother Earth is sleeping in the winter under the snow in her white blanket. But also, it's a reference to death.
Wow!
That the person who sent the seagull was 6 feet under. Now, what happened was that unforgettable day when I was walking back to that spot and it was 6 feet of snow. I was walking around in the snow and it was going. I had, of course, my fireman's boots on, and I was walking around and I stepped on something hard and I dug away. It was something metal and green, and I could never figure out what it was. So I just had to give up. I had this mystery, and I went back the following summer, and I found that place to find out what the green metal object was, and it turns out it was the top of a tall fence.
Oh, my.
Oh.
So all these kind of little things, and how do you explain? Well, it's almost like a dream. How do you explain a dream? And okay, so with your physical life, but is it really just your physical life, or is it something? Aren't we in a spiritual realm at the same time?
Always
Yeah.
with that spirit being. Yes.
Yeah. So I believe that throughout the book, when I started writing the book, the last thing I wanted to do was because it starts out with a legal disposition, right? So I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be very objective and scientific. Well, that didn't last long, because the stories that the elders were telling me were very mystical and some a little weird, but all very intriguing. And the consistent thread was that there were people on the other side who were trying to reach them in maybe half the cases. And the bird was doing that job nicely and in ways that are hard to deny. And I'll just give one example that I say is pretty hard to deny. There was a man near me, near where I'm living now, who he had a clubbed left foot. He was an elderly man, and he loved pigeons. And so he collected pigeons. And then at a certain age, he said, I'm too old to take care of the pigeons. He donated the pigeons to a pigeon society. And he was starting to get old, and his brother would call him every once in a while to see if he was doing.
Uh-oh. Did we lose you, Evan?
Evan.
Are you there? I think we may have lost you, even though you're still showing up on the board.
Yeah.
Unless you accidentally hit mute on your phone, Evan. Nope, he got dropped. So we're going to have him call back in. And, oh, my gosh, I'm on the edge of my seat with a story.
I know. That was good. I want to know what happened.
I know. So let's see.
I love this with the birds. They're like Mother Nature's angels,
They really are. I mean, my goodness, this ability that they have. I think let's see, 845. I think this is him. Let's see. Evan.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
Oh, there he is.
We were on the edge of our seats listening to your story, and suddenly you disappeared. So I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but I'll make it short. But so
no, don't
the brother
make it short.
goes.
Please tell us the whole story, because that's where the healing is. It's in the whole story.
Well, the point was, sometimes people on the other side, especially when they're passing to the other side, seem to be able to travel with birds somehow. And so this fellow goes out to his backyard. This is the brother of the bird lover who loves pigeons, and he sees this giant white pigeon in his backyard staring at him and looking at him, and he's getting this message that is hard to block his line, saying, I'm from your, sent by your brother here. And so he's saying, no, that's not my brother. No. This big white pigeon, this is a accident. This is a coincidence. And then the big white pigeon lifts its left leg, and his left leg has a club foot.
Oh, my goodness.
So how can you explain? It's like, all these different stories started to make me think that somehow spirits were able to, departed or whatever, were able to travel in birds. So I started thinking, how can I do this scientifically? And I thought of Stanley Krippner, who is my friend, who's written many books about shamanism and psychology and science and different scientific modalities trying to explore shamanism. So I called him up. He says, well, I'm going to be in New York in a few days, so come down to Broadway and see me and ask me this question. So I went all the way down to Broadway, New York, and found him in this little room, this little meeting. And I said, can you, how do we know that, like shamans, for example, can travel in these birds? He says, well, why don't you ask that person next to you? And I turn around, and this woman was an assistant to Rolling Thunder, who was a medicine man. And I asked her, did Rolling Thunder ever talk about actually being able to travel inside of like an eagle or a hawk and see through their eyes and do all this thing? She said every day he talked about that. Yeah, that was like standard de rigueur. He always talked about that. Every day we had a meeting. We talked about signs. We talked about what he saw when traveling in the birds. And so that was pretty dramatic, and he's pretty extensive, what he would say. And then I thought, well, other traditions, maybe what about the Australians? And so I called Bentha Hansen. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, a very well-known psychic, very good. And she'd been living in Australia during most of her early life, and she worked with Aboriginal people in Australia, and they talk about it all the time, too. They talk about traveling in birds. I said, Bentha, did you ever do it? She said, yes, in fact, when she was in Australia, had never been anywhere outside of Australia. She started having dreams at night that she was a bald eagle, and she was seeing the United States, and she was seeing New York and Cleveland and Kansas City from the bird's eye view. And I said, so why did that happen? She says, we don't have bald eagles in Australia. She said, I never saw a bald eagle.
Oh, my
but I was
goodness.
in one. They're in America. So it turns out something happened, and she had to move to America, and was here many years, wrote many books on psychic phenomenon, by the way. And now she's in Europe. And I don't know what kind of bird she's flying in now, but she said that eventually, you get really good and you don't need the bird anymore, but it seems like this is part of shamanism, and that's why I put, I agreed to have that, the power of bird shamanism on the book, because, it's kind of a sensational word, shamanism, but really this is what we're talking about in at least several of the cases. It's clearly, deliberate agreement between a human and a bird in order to effect some kind of healing, which is the definition of shamanism, and animal powers. It's shamanism. I mean, the shamanism, this word people argue about, Mircea Eliade coined it, I guess, and Joseph Campbell ran with it, and I intercepted it, and we're running with it. So,
I'm glad you are.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, this is very valuable information, and I think, too, Becky and I have been discussing all day the stories that you've related in this book, and there is so much healing with storytelling. And, again, hearing this in your book, reading this in your book is just a remarkable experience, and I can't recommend it highly enough to our audience. It does rekindle that flame as you read the book.
Yes, I hope that, the sense of wonder that, people sometimes lose because of things like taxes and finances, they have when they're young. And my sister, as I said, had this magic with birds, too, when she was younger. It was pretty prominent. And she went Eastern Shore, Maryland, on a canoe, which was sailing around with her friend, and they drifted into a wetlands area that was very remote where nobody ever goes. And the marshes opened up, and here was this still water lagoon, right, in Cedar Swamp, in fact, right near the Delaware-Maryland border. And she sees, I think, 18 snowy egrets in a perfect circle.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
Then they begin to dance, like boogie-woogie, dancing. And then opposite pairs float towards the center of the circle. This is a male and female. These are mated pairs. And then they flap their wings really hard, and they push their ruffs against each other, and they levitate way up in the air, and the others are dancing, boogie-woogie, whatever. Well, not literally, but something like that. And then they come back, they float back down to the water, and they kind of do these gestures. And then those two birds go back to their original positions. And then another mated pair, also on the opposite of this very large circle, do the same thing until all the snowy egrets have done this dance. And, of course, she was just like passing through, don't make any noise, just drifting along with this current. And she didn't want to tell anybody because she thought, if I tell people, this is magical, right?
Right.
She didn't want to share it with the world because what if they say, oh, you're just making it up, you're crazy, So she never mentioned it until I was writing this book, and I said, do you have any stories for me about birds? Because you're so good with birds. And she said, well, there's one story I've never told that I'll tell you. And so it's in the book. And the next stage was like, how do we convince people that this was real? So I went all over looking for a photograph like this. Snowy egrets come from all over to Maryland to do this dance. It's a big deal.
Wow.
And somebody's probably taken a picture. In fact, I found that some of the Nanticokes had a dance the Nanticos that live right near that swamp have a dance they call it the Swan Dance, or the Swan Shawl Dance, that commemorates this whole thing. So looking all around, and I finally found a photo by a German photographer of this same swamp with these same birds, or their children, or whatever. And so I asked him if I could please, make a copy of it, because it was very proprietary. He spent thousands of dollars getting this picture, I'm sure. I imagine he probably spent, 18 hours in a scuba diving suit in that swamp trying to get this picture, right? So he got the picture, he let me copy it, I gave it to my sister for Christmas, and then he agreed to put it in the book, and it is the centerfold. Now, of course, I hope that you're going to show these pictures on your radio show, but that's probably pretty difficult.
We wish we could. Well, everybody just has to buy the book so they can see these incredible pictures, that's all. The
pictures really are amazing, and some of the seagulls there are pictures of the seagulls in the spot where my grandfather dropped the fish, and they're taken, by the way, by his great-granddaughter.
Oh.
So, but some of the pictures are really, Alan Wells is a little-known photographer who is, I guess, well-known among bird fanatics, but he's never really published these photos. His friends know, and I ran into him, and I don't know, I had some bird pictures that weren't so great, and some of them, one of them, I guess, was mislabeled as a subspecies. And he said, "Look, why don't you just use my photos? I'll tell you what they are." I said, "I can't afford you. You're so great." He said, "Oh, no, just don't worry about it." And it was incredible. It was one of the greatest miracles of bird medicine was that Alan Wells let me use these books for a very small fee, which he had to charge. And they're awesome. And, the picture on the cover, which I think gives everybody the chills, is an albino hawk, or the white hawk, from below. And it's a red tail.
Oh, my goodness.
The red tail does go albino sometimes.
They do.
Sorry.
I wanted to let you know that's what I got a picture of. It was a hawk, but the underneath of the hawk was white, and there's a huge orb right under its feather. That's what was flying above me in my yard as I was sitting outside. And I was wondering about that with the white underneath. That is a special hawk then.
Yes, they call it the white hawk or spirit hawk. And it's representative of the great white hawk, who is the spirit of all the hawk birds, and that's one way to look at it. So it brings very special messages, because a hawk has a very special role to bring, the pure teachings and protection, and as a guardian. So this is a digital photo?
Yes, I have my digital camera.
Yeah.
I get sensational pictures. But, I have hawks that come around, and they even swoop low and fly around. And this one was above me. And when I looked up, I noticed it was white underneath, like a whitish color, and there was something glinting underneath its wing. So I snapped my camera, the picture, and lo and behold, a white, bright orb was right under its wing as it was flying, and it was amazing. I was like, never in a million years could I have gotten this, and I got it. I was so excited about it.
Well, I sure would love to see that picture. Where was the orb in relationship to the wing?
Okay, if you're looking up at the hawk, it would be on the right side, kind of out toward the tip of the wing, but underneath the wing. So I guess it would really be the hawk's left wing if you were the hawk, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
And clear as day, you can see it.
Well, that ties in with what we're talking about, which is in the book, you go much more into proving the idea that shamans actually travel with these birds, which I didn't know when I started. And, I went through a lot writing it, but there's many stories that really can only be explained that way. But it sounds like, to me, that your digital camera caught the orb spirit of some kind of elder, or, one of these spirits. Could be human, could be Native American, we don't know, but traveling with that bird.
Wow, like a a Native American from my lineage, from the Mohawk lineage, you think, or?
Well, it depends. Yes, actually, we have to consider that bird came to you.
Right.
And you know how it is in the Native American context, you never divorce yourself from the picture. You never say, well, I'm just an objective observer and I'm not going to affect the outcome. Well, BS, you're going to affect it.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as an outside observer in the Native American world. So we have to include you. And yes, the bird was coming to you to show you something. And so it could be one of your ancestors. And, there are some Mohawk stories in my book and from some really wonderful elders who have that gift. The bird medicine is the phrase we use for people that have the gift,
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy, Kevin, this man, this elder, told me several stories. And, when he gives the giving of thanks and he gets to the part, mostly when he says it in Mohawk, he gets to the part where he's thanking the birds in the air. It seems like hawks and eagles show up, mostly hawks, at that moment. And everybody says, how'd you do that, But they know.
That's exciting.
So I believe that just on principle, just guessing, that the bird came to you, so it probably is one of your ancestors traveling inside and, or next to, which is probably more the case, the hawk. And I would love to see that photo because, that's, like I say, when I started writing bird medicine, it didn't really occur to me I was going to go there because the original intention was environmental, was to talk about the environmental hazards facing birds and how that affects native ceremony. But then when I'm hearing these stories, it's like so many of them involve, the departed, the spirit world. And I believe that and not everybody believes this, but I have lots of pictures of orbs, and that's because I take photographs of sacred sites. I know that some people may feel that's not good, but it's not that there's anything there. It's just out in the woods, and I know that these places were used, and I take a picture from my own, from my own records, and then often there's all these orbs there, broad daylight.
Oh, kindred spirit. I, too, have tons of orb pictures. That's wonderful.
Because you're taking pictures of places where you are attracted to, right, from their spiritual energy. That's okay.
Yes, yes, especially around my home.
Right, because your home attracts the good energy. And some people will take digital photos for years and never get one orb.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
That would be
right?
me.
Oh, okay. Well, nothing wrong with that. No judgment.
No, she has a sweet, honest, loving heart. So
I just don't have that talent with being able to capture orbs. But I mean, you bring up an interesting point about elders.
Most people can't see the orbs, by the way.
Right, you just see them in the picture, right? But I think, Becky, you do see them, don't you?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I see glints of light, and I know it's an orb. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're special. That's a wonderful gift.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, and
anyway, so
go ahead.
There's so much to talk
about
here.
I don't always see the glints. I do sense them sometimes. So I'm just taking pictures of something that I know is, connected to tradition, and then I see the orbs in the picture later,
Mm-hmm. I think orbs are wonderful. They're great. They're showing up, their spiritual energy showing up. There's somebody that's there, whether it be ancestor, angel, elemental, spirit being, animal. I think they're great. It's a factual thing. They're there. You're seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not one to run away from something like that. I'm one to run toward it and find out what is it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good for you. Because, some people, readers will say, oh, it's just raindrops on the camera lens, and it's all this. Yeah, right.
No, not when it's not raining.
They're inside. A lot of them are inside.
Yeah.
And it's not raining.
True. That's true.
You're bringing up a really important point about traveling and how the birds can actually be kind of like an airplane in some ways, it sounds like, for people that have departed to go between the worlds. Is that how you see this?
Yes, and I have a lot of stories in the book, and some of them are my own stories that I started to have more bird experiences after working on the book because that was on my mind all the time. And some little doorway that had been closed just opened up, and there were all these, birds started to really reach out to me. And the people who, what if spirits were working with the birds were reaching out to me more, or I was getting it. So you can, and the positive thing, and I'm saying this honestly, like, okay, I could say, oh, yes, I was born with, all this. But I want people to know that you can develop the ability to communicate with birds. And I think Helen was born with it. She was doing bird shows in 1920, and by what I mean teaching about birds and bringing the birds to the children. But for me, it took longer, and it developed it because I was focused on it, and I needed to know,
That's amazing.
So anybody can.
And you're saying anybody can do this, which I agree. I think that's absolutely true. But here's my question. A lot of your stories in the book, they're all wonderful, and the messages that are brought forth from the other side by the birds are profound, about somebody has passed or somebody's been injured. How about doing it the other way around? And I think that's what you're alluding to with Rolling Thunder, that he also could travel to the other side with the help of an animal or a bird specifically.
Bird. Yes.
So these elders who were amazing, Rolling Thunder, one of the greats, to be able to travel to the other side was something that he did. Because I think when people think about traveling, when you're alive, it's just from one place to another in this reality. But I think you're also talking about the ability to go to the land of the dead or wherever, with a bird.
And that's what the Australians, the Noongar, and some of the other tribal Aboriginals in Australia were telling my friend Benta Hansen that they were traveling in these rafters and seeing, crossing the outback or wherever. I had one experience when I drove again cross country to Wounded Knee in South Dakota, and there's a lot of shamanic practice there, I believe. And I got to this crossroads, kind of a T, and there was, I just arrived that moment, and there was an eagle standing there on a fence post and just stared at me, and I guess I got out, stared at the eagle stared at me. It's pretty unusual. Yeah. And I always wondered, and then he flew away eventually, and I got back in my car, and I'm thinking, now I look back, I'm thinking, somebody was checking me out. Somebody alive was looking at me, because that bird was checking me out, saying, I don't know about this guy, what's going on, So I believe that's the case. And the man that I was going to stay with had a medicine man that he worked with who was supposed to be very powerful, and I won't say his name. I don't really even remember. But I believe now that my friend Bob would have told his elder everything that was going on. He said, I have this guy coming over to see me, and his name is blah, blah, blah. And, I think that was possibly that the eagle was, that elder.
Wow. That's
that
really
look.
fascinating.
And so he was sent out to see what you were about. How interesting.
Right.
Yeah. So and the book has several stories about living people traveling in birds. But then there's the thing about the crow councils and how, crows gather. We're talking about crows at the beginning of the show, and I love crows. But they gather by the thousands.
That's amazing. And that's all in your book. So, tell us more about these gatherings. They have these big powwows, huh?
Yeah, and that was the thing that put me over the top in terms of having to deal with the metaphysical aspects of these, and really kind of confront that question and not just, fly around it, but that the crows gather by the thousands, and they tend to gather at the same holidays that the native elders thousands of years ago would gather, and they also gather in the places where these traditional people gathered thousands of years ago. And I'm one of the very few people who knows where those places were, because I've spent my life researching that, like where villages were, where trails were, where people had ceremonies, and not to look for artifacts. I'm not interested in artifacts. I'm reconstructing the Algonquin geography. I've just spent 20 years on this. So very few people have that part of the puzzle, but in just about every case, crows have these councils at places where thousands of years ago, native people gathered. And there's certain things that they would, go by. They would want to be at crossroads where there's a village and a waterfall and a stream all together and crossings. And these are the places that the crows gather at today. And part of how I know this is I was, noticing this from the stories I'd heard, but also now there's a website, crows/roosts. Interesting website. But when you look at it, they actually report. It describes all these different sites where the crows gather, and I know a lot of these spots. Of course, they're across the country, but these are spots where Native people gathered thousands of years ago. And one of the most dramatic cases, which I had known about anyway, was because of newspaper reports about Middletown, New York. And I read this. I was reading the paper one day and saw, Middletown Record, whatever, and there was this bizarre story about like 6,000 crows on top of this movie theater, that was in this kind of mall, and they were trying to shoo these birds away, and nothing worked, and it was at something like a solstice of the year, and I thought, hey, wait a minute, I know that, that's not a crossroads today. There's no crossroads there, but there was. How would the crows know, So I started, that's what really triggered it. So that got into the book from a more recent news story. And actually a friend of mine is a photographer for the paper, went out and took a picture. But they gather in the old crossroads, even if there's like high-rises or malls there. They just go right ahead, and they meet in the same spots at the same time. Now, how do you explain that? Well, once you've gone to the Noongar, once you've gone to Bentha Hansen, and once you've gone to some, to Rolling Thunder, it's easy. Oh, these are the same spirits of these ancient peoples. They're still gathering. Okay, I mean, it's a simple solution. Occam's razor, like what's the simplest solution with the least moving parts? Well, in this case, the simple solution is actually really bizarre. Is that these people are traveling
around. What are they doing
when
they're gathering? Does anybody know? I mean, are they?
They're making a huge racket.
I love the sound of crows.
People nearby.
You can drown. It's deafening.
And they're following the energy patterns of the earth, no matter what has been constructed over it. Is what you're saying?
That's right. It could be anything. It could be a swimming pool. It could be a mall. They just gather in the same places that these elders, traditional people, weren't elders then, gathered long ago, and they just know.
You also talk about in your book the fact that crows are highly intelligent, and I found a lot of what you said in that chapter just remarkable. So if you could share some of that with our audience, this is great stuff.
Well, there is a lot about bird intelligence, and they're up there with the people we consider the really smart animals: dogs, cats, monkeys. And crows are. Even that, one of the things is they don't have teeth, and so in order to eat meat, they have to work as teams, and therefore they have to share. So crows are very sharing birds. And another thing about is they also cooperate with hunters. And this is you like to talk about survival issues, and birds really help hunters survive. And one of the things they do is they will, I guess, make signals. They can communicate with all the species and warn them of things, and they can warn the game of the hunter, and the game will understand, because crows have, one caw, two caw, three caw, they have a code. And so they could ruin your hunting day if they wanted to, but they also help. And one of the things is, they want the hunter to get the hunt, because then the hunters generally don't eat all or bring away all of the kills. They leave some. And so then the crows will go, and because they need fresh meat. They can't eat carrion like the vultures. So they go in, as soon as the hunter leaves, then they start working as a team. So they get to eat. So there's an intimate relation between crows and almost every other species. And I actually wrote about this years ago. A study came out of Columbia on how amazing crows were and other animals to communicate. So they, but the intelligence. There's a. I don't know if you went on YouTube to find that video, but there's an amazing video of Caledonian crow, which are the smartest, of creating a sled out of a tin lid and carrying it to the top of an icy roof, and then sliding down the roof, and then jumping off and catching the lid in the air, and then walking back up to the top of the roof again, and then sliding down again.
Oh my goodness,
that's amazing!
And as he's going, he's actually packing down this route and making it longer and slicker, and actually creating a little playground for himself. That there's lots
like a little child.
Yeah, and of course the famous incident was when they tested a Caledonian crow to make tools. So they gave this crow a tube with food at the bottom, and then they gave the crow a wire that was straight. Now, the crow would have to stick the wire down. Without changing the wire, it wouldn't be able to bring the food up. But so then the crow sees the situation, and immediately, without having to do trial and error, puts the wire, very stiff wire, in his beak and bends it with his beak into a hook, and then holds it and brings up the food.
See, that's unbelievable. I mean, that is quite a high level of intelligence, and it's, I don't know many people who think about crows in that way. So you really have opened up a whole other world for me, at least, and I'm sure many others, and how we look at these crows, that they're that smart, that they can deductively think and create tools to get what they want. That's incredible stuff. And they deserve our respect also. And
yes, and Native Americans have always respected crows. It's generally, I think, it strikes one that talking about birds with natives, you immediately, what's your favorite? Oh, crows. I like crows. And I think with Europeans, you were less likely to get that. Although I've found plenty of Europeans who immediately say, my favorite bird's the crow. But I'm just saying, there's this tremendous respect, Native communities, for the crow, and they live with them, and they know how smart they are. And of course, Aunt Helen was cutting, doing the tip of the tongue and the membrane to, help them talk. It's amazing how quickly they learn to talk after that. It's weird too. Like somebody put a curse on the crow and say, "No, you can't talk."
That's what I was just going to ask you: is why is that? Because if it's so easy to create a change in their anatomy and allow them to speak like that, you kind of wonder.
Isn't that strange? Yeah. Well, the ravens are more likely to speak on their own. They don't have that problem. But yeah, the average crow apparently can, with that change, can maybe speak. And it is a little strange. How does that happen?
And why didn't they automatically have that gift of speaking?
But what about all the other animals in their own ways have something like that, where we think, well, it's hopeless trying to communicate with blank, whatever it is, dog or pig or whatever. But in fact, they are communicating with us all the time in ways that we could, in fact, figure out, but we don't. And so we lose out on all that help that they're trying to give us. And, remarkable stories, of course, you hear. But in this book, I'm just really focusing on the messages that birds have. And I want to mention that, people say, well, what does it take to really be able to communicate with them? And, I asked this question of many elders, and apparently it's important to open your heart to them, to have that emotional connection, because they're very, very intuitive. And birds don't think like humans at all, in my opinion. And, we've just said how smart crows are, but they're smart, in my opinion, in a very different way than humans. And I don't even pretend to understand how birds, think. There's, it's like why cats paint. I mean, I don't know. But, no, there is about why birds think. But some of the things we can understand, people say, you're just anthropomorphizing, but it's the best we can do. We know they're doing some of the similar functions that humans do, and it's just a different way. But one of the things I said is open your heart to them, and then that communication, becomes more stronger. Another thing is you have to be very patient, because one of the wonderful things about bird signs is that even in this day and age, even in New York City or wherever you are, you can't pay a bird to bring you a message. It's like it's pure. It's,
right.
You can't influence them, you can't bribe them, you can't beg them to bring you a message. They're going to bring you a message only when they want to. There's nothing you can do about it, except I believe in the tradition. You can pray for days and you can do offerings to whatever, and I believe that is as good as any method of getting the signs. So you have to be very patient, but also when the bird comes, it happens like lightning and it's very fast. And you have to be quick on your feet and very observant. And so that combination of being both relaxed and focused is actually the key to good spiritual life. I've written about that somewhere else. But if you're not focused, you're going to miss that split second. But if you're not relaxed, they're not going to be really attracted to your screwed up energy if you're all tense and angry. They don't want to go near anger. Why should they?
Right.
Yeah.
You're not paying them to be their shrink. So.
Yeah.
So those are several things, and the most important thing I want to say to both of you, and you know this, but for the listeners, without the traditional teachings about species, you probably won't really know what the specific message is, because each species has, according to tradition, its own type of message, and without that, you're just blind. And I didn't know. I had to learn, through elders, were nice enough to have mercy on me and say, oh, well, these species mean this and that, and would show me and tell stories. And so the species, and this is what the book does through the 200 stories, is you get a feeling for what kinds of messages each of the species carry. Hawks have one, eagles have another, crows, owls, those are the four medicine birds of the medicine wheel. They all have different characteristics, and it's hard to put into words what the difference is, but when you hear enough stories, then you get it. You say, oh, that's what that's for.
Right.
So that's the key component.
Right.
Wow.
And that's what you've done in this wonderful book. And again, for our audience, the name of the book is Bird Medicine, The Sacred Power of Bird Shamanism by Evan Pritchard. And we have a question in our chat room, Evan. This lady would like to know if you know about the painted buntings. It's a protected bird.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's the indigo. I don't know about painted. I'm familiar with the indigo bunting, and we do have them sometimes in my area here. And they are very musical birds. And in the book, I describe that, seeing one on the top of this very high ridge, very rocky place, very remote. And I was sitting there looking over, an incredible view of the Hudson Valley, and this indigo bunting came up and sat next to me and started going in this very, 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 very long song. So I did some research on what all that was about, and it turns out that when they're young, they sing this very long song, and it's pretty original, actually. And then they migrate to South America, and they practice, and they actually hone it down, and it keeps getting shorter. And when they come back to New York, on Broadway, they've got it down tight, and it's much more succinct than before. And so I think of the bunting as the bird that reminds us to practice, practice, to get to Carnegie Hall, so to speak.
Wow. So that's the message. Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, I'm going to take this opportunity for our last break of the evening. So everybody stay tuned. If you have a question for Evan, you can call in at 646-478-0828. And you can also write in a message in the chat room, send us a quick email, and we will ask the question for you. So everybody stay tuned. We will be right back.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Sometimes life can be a challenge. Would you like insight and guidance to help you make the best choices right now? Contact Helene at angelslighthouse.com to make your personal appointment for a psychic reading or energy alignment. Helene is a direct channel to the angelic realm and is remarkably capable of connecting to the living as well as to your loved ones on the other side. Helene is available to clients all over the world via phone or Skype, and it's simple to set up a group reading anywhere. Visit angelslighthouse.com, where you'll find an easy way to schedule right online. And while you're there, sign up for the Angels Lighthouse newsletter and receive information on all the free energy circles, giveaways, and jewelry with a message. Visit angelslighthouse.com and contact Helene today.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With cosmic fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.kosmicfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We are speaking with Evan Pritchard, who is the author of a great book, Bird Medicine, The Sacred Power of Bird Shamanism. So, Evan, please tell us about hummingbirds.
Wow. Well, hummingbirds have many, many roles, and the species is associated with several different kinds of messages, but one of the things that I didn't know and intrigued me was that hummingbirds are said by the Mayans and many other native tribes and nations to announce the death of a warrior and to herald the death of the warrior. And I put that in the back of my mind, and I thought, well, that's kind of weird. And I found out that the hummingbird will attack a bear and usually win, because the hummingbird will go for the eyes, and they're so fast that they can actually do some damage, so they can defeat the bear in battle. So hummingbird, although it's a gentle bird and very creative and loves freedom, hummingbirds do not like to be in a cage of any kind. They will just go crazy if they feel captured. But and a lot of us can identify with that. They're very creative, colorful birds, but they herald the death of a warrior. So one of my own Micmac elders was telling me this story. She was saying that she was reading a eulogy for her husband, and this hummingbird came, and this is way up north, where hummingbirds traditionally don't come, way up in the higher latitudes. And she said, what was going on? I had this hummingbird flying around me while I was reading this eulogy for my husband. I said, well, I have one question. Was your husband a warrior? She said, yes, he was an officer in the Navy, that he had been a lifetime Army, I think it was the captain, very high-ranking officer and a full-blooded Micmac. And I said, well, there you are, because, the hummingbird is appropriate because he announces the death of a great warrior, and obviously your husband was a great warrior, so it's true. But also, in the book, there are many other stories about hummingbirds. One was captured accidentally, inside a house, and was trying to get out and was frantically, hurting himself trying to get out. And so, the nuthatch, which is the bird associated with faith, appears in the other side of the window. This is outside, and catches the eyes of the hummingbird and keeps staring at him and calms him down until they're facing each other. And then the thrush says, basically, this is a friend of mine was observing this, and there was two stories like this. They just calm down. And so when the hummingbird finally calmed down, it realized that the door was open.
Oh, my goodness.
And the hummingbird left and went out and joined the nuthatch. Well, the nuthatch is associated with faith, and that's, somebody observed this, but there are many cases with that. But with the hummingbird, they really don't like to be captured. And there's a longer story. A number of my stories are about a woman named Blessing Bird that I knew very well, and she was fasting for her name, and she went out to this island. Well, her elder brought her there, and for the fourth day, she hadn't gotten a name yet, and she had her pipe in her lap, and this thing flew by her very fast, and she thought it was a bumblebee because she'd never seen a hummingbird. And she says, well, I certainly don't want to be called Bumblebee the rest of my life. You understand? So anyway, then she looked down, and there was this tiny green feather in her pipe bowl. The hummingbird had crawled inside her bowl and was looking around and gathering up her tobacco seeds, and then flew away and leaving a green wing feather, which is very tiny. And so when her grandfather came, he said, oh, that's hummingbird medicine. You shall be called a special name for the hummingbird. And he called her Blessing Bird. And so, and he told her the story about how the hummingbird came to the Cherokee because the Cherokee had apparently lost the right to use tobacco because of the Titans. Are you still there?
Oh.
Yes, and so the other birds, the eagle, said, well, I'll go get tobacco and I'll give it to them. But the Titans knocked down the eagle, and then the hawk says, well, I'll try. And so he gets the tobacco, and he goes right in front of these Titans as they knock him down. These are giants. Hummingbird says, no, that's not the way you do it. I'll show you how. So the hummingbird flies right past them. They don't even see him, and he gathers up the seeds of the tobacco, flying back under the noses of the giants, and then gives the seeds to the Cherokee, which, of course, grow just fine, and now they have their tobacco. And so that's why he called this woman Blessing Bird, because all she wanted to do with her pipe was to do ceremony with the prisoners in the Maryland State Correctional System who were native, who were not allowed to have tobacco because it was contraband. And she had gotten the right, after getting the pipe, to go and bring ceremony to these Cherokee and Lenape elders inside these prisons. And so she was the hummingbird.
That's beautiful. What a great story. And again, it goes back to what you said a little while ago, that you really do need to know enough about the bird, the type of bird, and what the meaning is to be able to understand the message.
Yes.
That's,
I have a question.
yes.
I was at a lecture with my parents, and we were out in the city with really tall buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And I smoke tobacco. I smoke cigarettes. So I went outside on the break and had my cigarette, and there were people all outside. And out of nowhere, this hummingbird comes over, and I hear the people say, "Oh," like that. And I look up. The hummingbird came down and touched between my eyes on my nose and left this yellowish color pollen. I think it was trying to pollinate me or something. But it left it, and everyone was like, "Oh!" And my parents even said, "What in the world?" And I never knew why this hummingbird came from nowhere and pollinated me between the eyes.
Well, you know, the hummingbird is the southern bird, and you know, some people say the Mohawks have relatives, ancestors down in the south, from the Four Corners area. By the way, some historians say, and I'm not to say because I'm not Mohawk, but the people that still live in the Four Corners use pollen as an offering, and I know this because many of the stories from the Cochiti, for example, who lived near the Four Corners, talk about making pollen offerings to the sun. And there's a story. Yeah, so the bird was giving you an offering.
I guess he was.
And that's very sacred. The pollen is the most sacred offering.
Oh, my goodness. My parents were astonished, and the people around me, they came up and were looking at me and touching my head and looking at this yellow pollen, and I'm like, what is going on? I touched my head, and there's this yellow pollen all between my eyes.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Well, that's your third eye.
Oh, yes, I never even thought of that.
That's where your pineal gland is, the third eye.
Oh, my goodness.
So he's trying
to...
I'll make an offering to you, but at the same time also, I mean, pollen is very sacred to some tribes, and maybe we could say to whoever was traveling. Now, again, it's a little, you may say or disagree or speculative, whatever, but, you know, it's our ancestors that often come to us to help us. And this is something, well, you know, what's the difference between being native and non-native? Well, one difference is not so much our culture, but the culture of our ancestors, because, you know, if you have an ancestor who is very powerful and who practiced during their life, you know, traditions that sharpen their abilities, that ancestor is going to be very helpful.
Wow.
And it's just lucky that if you have one, and I think you have an ancestor going way back who was traveling, who was a southern ancestor, who was traveling in that bird and gave you that offering, which is a very high offering.
That's
and
amazing.
Transformational offering, and your third eye to ask you to use it.
Oh, my gracious. That is
what
amazing.
What a beautiful message. Gosh.
Yeah, I finally found out what it was.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. When you saw the orb with the hawk, was that after this?
Yes, that was after. That was just recently, a month ago. Matter of fact, I will email you that picture so you can see it. Yes, that was just, I think it was last month.
Right. So it sounds like your third eye's doing just fine.
That offering really worked.
Yeah, it really
did.
It really worked. Now, I have a website at www.algonquinculture.org.
Uh-huh.
ALGONQUIN, cultures, CULTURE.org. And the email is evan.pritchard7@gmail.com. And if people want autographed copies of Bird Medicine, I don't see why they can't just email me and we can work it out.
Wonderful.
Terrific.
That's great. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you for that offer for our audience. That's terrific. This is a wonderful book. It really is, and everybody should buy it and read it and learn how to open your hearts to these beautiful birds. I mean, this is remarkable. And what a gift you got, Becky. And if you hadn't had this opportunity to speak with Evan, you wouldn't have known the significance.
I would have never, ever known. There was one other extraordinary thing that my mom even says, Becky, that was just straight from the heavenly realm. And that's when I was woke up 3 a.m. by thousands of birds, pitch dark out. And I got up and looked out my window. I couldn't see one single bird, but there was thousands of them singing and tweeting, and I was just stunned. And all of a sudden I heard a very low, soft voice telling me, "You shall be my song in the night." And I just stood there. I remember the daylight coming and not even realizing I was standing there. I don't know how long, maybe 2 hours it might have been. I don't know, but I was hearing the birds, and it was just amazing. And I finally realized this is what I thought it was, that you shall be my song in the night is understanding the mystical things that are in the dark or in the night and bringing them out to people. I think that's what that message was, with the thousands of birds tweeting and hearing that soft, beautiful voice telling me I shall be, their song in the night.
Well, I'm going to look this up because I believe, seems to me that the nightingale sings at night, right? Mm-hmm. And the nightingale is like an angel, and that actually all birds are like angels, and that they're just don't have the human characteristics, but the nightingale sings at night, from what I recall, and I might be wrong, but also considered, like you say, when things are bad, when people are hopeless, then the nightingale appears and brings hope. And that's what happened to my elder, too, when he was saying, to God, not in these words, but like, play me or trade me, use me for your will, or let's get out of here, because he was so sick. And then the nightingale came, even though the nightingale, I want to mention, is a European bird, and if it shows up in America, this is really special.
Yeah.
But let me say that you are my song in the night.
Right. You shall be my song in the night.
You shall be. And do you feel that was the Creator speaking to you?
Yes, it felt like a genuinely warm-hearted being that said it very softly to me, and I just stood trying to look out the window to see all these thousands of birds I heard singing and tweeting, and I couldn't see them, but I could clearly hear them. The window was open. It was in the beginning of summer. It was just, that was just amazing. And the only thing I could think of is being a song in the night with the birds singing is a spiritual thing. I know that. And then I thought in the night would be secretive things or things of paranormal things, spiritual things that I would be telling people and learning and opening up and telling people about. That's the only thing I could figure out from it, the experience they gave me.
Well, I think that, too, the night would be a time when people feel like they're in the dark, that they don't know. If you can't, if you're in a position where you don't have information, you don't know what to do, you call that like your dark night of the soul. And I feel that it's saying that you are going to help the Creator by helping people. And, of course, you know what they say, you can't just, if you want to help people, get as far away from it as possible. That's something I say. But,
oh, boy, I'm in for it.
Going into the woods, right?
That's funny.
But, if you do everything people ask you to, you get really messed up and confused. But if you, stick close to the Creator will tell you how to help people.
Yeah.
And I believe that I'm looking at night, yes, during the breeding season. I'm looking it up. The nightingale does sing at night very melodiously. And so I'm just saying that, a song in the night, it's really referring to a bird who sings at night. The nightingale is one. The nightingale is associated with being like this angelic helper, like a healer who appears when things are worst. And, of course, we're in a time in this country when, a lot of people feel that there's like a cloud over this country at the moment. We'll get out of it, but it's dark, This is like a night.
It does
and
feel
of course,
that way. Now that you put it in those terms, that's exactly what it feels like.
Well, we can respond to that, and And Becky, right? You said?
Yes.
Yeah, you've gotten the message that you're encouraged to take action and to not do what people tell you to do, but do what the Creator tells you to help people who are in darkness.
Yes.
And some kind of healing.
I believe. Yep, I absolutely do believe that, and I would, because I hold on to the light and the Creator, and I love people. I love the world. I want it to be good. I don't want it to have problems, or be in the dark.
And you had so many birds. You said thousands of birds, so it sounds like thousands of people. That could be the thousands.
Right. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Well, let me share a story from the book. I don't know how much time we have, but like I say, people, if they want an autographed copy, the book is 18 or whatever, and give me some postage and handling, and I'll autograph it. When I'm autographing books, I usually get messages, and sometimes there are things that I wouldn't know, but the person knows what it means. But there's a story about the bluebird, and a woman, this very serious reporter interviewed me the other day, and she's, we have to interview you with this review and everything. And so, but what she really wanted was to ask me a question about this bluebird. Because the bluebird was flying down her chimney and getting into her wood stove, which had a little window on it in the middle of the house. And I said, so is this wood stove like right at the heart of your house? She said, yes. And I said, it gives off warmth. It's really the center. It's really the heart of your life, isn't it? She said, yeah. And what's the message? I said, well, obviously the message is you have a bluebird in your heart, but you got to open your heart to let the bluebird out.
Oh, perfect.
She put it in the article that she was writing. But the bluebird is a very tiny bird, and it has a sunburst on its chest. And the Cochiti, again, talk about how this little bluebird boy, he had a single mother, and the other kids would make fun of him because he had no, he didn't seem to have a father. And his mother said, but the sun is your father. And so he told the other kids, and they laughed. Again, your mother's lying, So he went back to his mother. They said, you're a liar. Mother says, go out. I'll take you to the edge of the desert to the east at night, and I'll leave you there, and your father will come and talk to you. So he goes out into the desert, and he wakes up, and there's the sun is sitting in front of him. I am your father, the whole thing. And the bird is like this tiny little bird. And for so long he's thought he has no father and nobody loves him, Father says, I've been watching you from a distance as I fly over, taking care of the world, and you're a good son. He's so happy to hear this. He says, as a matter of fact, the son says, I won't be around forever, and I need to train someone to be my successor. Would you be my successor? He's like, oh, my God, I'm going to be the son. He said, yes, I will train you. So he teaches the little bluebird how to be the son. And the most important thing is to make sure that the Cochiti people, is the Cochiti story, make the proper offerings at the proper time. And he says, well, you have to let them know you're coming, and you put a parrot's feather on your head as you're behind the horizon. They see the feather, which, of course, is the plume come up in the east, well, the colors. And then you get up a little higher, and then you put your wing up, and then you pop over, and then they have to offer pollen and do the right songs, or you don't go anywhere. You don't let them get, lazy here. You make them work for this. And so you go up the sky, and then you get to the top of the sky, and then they don't have to make any more pollen offerings. And then you just float down to the other side in the west, and you go down that hole, and you go into the underworld. But it's, it's a little scary at first, but they're nice people down there. And then you come all the way up to the east again, and then you start over again, and that's how to be the sun. And so then the sun kind of disappears, And so this little bluebird, a tiny little bird with a sunburst on his chest, has gone from being, basically a fatherless child to having a father. Turns out his father is the sun. But then it turns out that he's going to be the next son, and it's a really wonderful little story. But it's true because the bluebird has his heart is palpitating. He looks down, and there's the sun on his own chest.
Yes. Beautiful.
The light blue and the clouds are on his chest too. It's a beautiful story.
That is a beautiful story. Now I have another question here in the chat room. We have a few minutes left, and try to get to their questions too. And this person wrote in and said that they have 3 crows that are visiting them all the time. Should she be looking for a message?
Yeah, I think this person might be Irish because I think there's like a tradition in Ireland about three crows, and I can't remember if it's something like three represents three counties in Ireland or something. But you know, the Celts have bird medicine too. They just, you know, you don't hear about it as much anymore. But in the book, I talk about the Welsh fascination with the lark. But I think it seems to me there's three crows in a song, Three Crows Out on a Wall. It's an Irish song. And I have some Irish ancestors, so I think that might be an Irish ancestor. But also, there's other possibilities too. I guess they're not really forming clearly that I can express them. But there needs this. Could be a lot of things.
But they should open to it because it sounds like you're saying that there is significance here with the three, and so maybe this person should open their heart to it and see what comes.
Yes.
Yeah, there's usually another clue, like something in the behavior. But again, I'm getting like that person has an Irish ancestor is trying to reach them and say, you know, this is part of our culture. And the birds, of course, the crows are warning birds. I wouldn't say that three is a council. If some would, some wouldn't. But generally, if crows are gathering in a council near you, it's telling you that you need to have a meeting with some people.
Oh.
But three is like something else. And it's not quite, you know, coming to me, but I'm getting that, you know, there is an Irish tradition about the three crows.
Well, that's it.
Maybe it'll come to me as soon as we hang up.
Of course. That's something they can follow up on, though, and do a little research on. That sounds so interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
There might be, there might be more to it. You know, like I say, that it is kind of a borderline council.
How many would be considered a council?
Well, nobody agrees on that, but I've heard that 6 or 7 crows can be called a council. Some people use the word murder, but let's not go there. But a council sometimes would be even 5 or 6, I'd say, to 7, But people don't agree on the exact number.
I see. Well, and if you could take your website out again, also, Evan, so that people can go to your website, and your email address is there, I'm sure, too, so that they can write to you to get an autographed copy of your book.
Yeah.
And that is...
Yeah, you scroll down on the book page to get to the bird medicine, because there's a lot of books on there that I've written. But it's www.algonquinculture.org, and that is ALGONQUIN, cultures, CULTURE.org. And my email link is on there. And there's a number of other books. Native New Yorkers, Henry Hudson and the Algonquins, Native American Stories of the Sacred has a lot about birds in it. And there's a number of other books on that website. So of interest to Native people.
Thank you so much. And they can also purchase your book on Amazon.com. And again, the name of the book is Bird Medicine, The Sacred Power of Bird Shamanism. And Evan, thank you so much for being on our show tonight. This has been exciting and wonderful information.
Exciting.
Yes.
And answers given.
Yes.
This is a great conversation, and one of the best conversations I've had in a while, and it's on the air, so other people can.
That's perfect.
That was so
That's
nice.
perfect. Thank you so much. Really, this has been great. We're going to have you back again, because we didn't even get to so many of the wonderful stories about eagles.
About the owls.
The owls.
Oh, the owls, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's very dramatic. Well, sure, I'd be happy to come back on, and sorry about starting a little late. That never happened before, but there's always a first time. But also, I know that you like to talk about survival. The preppers.
Yes, we want to get into survival techniques and all of it. You have so much to offer. So yes, we're going to be pestering you again, Evan.
Okay. I just want to say that some natives believe that the whole thing with bird signs really started when the Native American preppers thousands of years ago were looking at birds who were preparing for storms, and they would see that the birds were telling them a storm was coming and that they had to prepare. And so, that might be, like in my book, there's a story of a robin that's singing a rain song at a higher octave, an octave higher than usual and about twice the speed. And so one of the guys says, oh, that's the rain song. And the other one says, well, that's the rain song. We're going to have a deluge, but there isn't a cloud in the sky. And then a major earthquake occurred right under their house.
Oh, my goodness.
And the woman says, I got to start studying these bird signs.
Yeah, for sure.
They can help you prepare. And I think, that I know it's your commercial about taxes, but I think, we got away with the comets. We got away with some of the earthquakes and nuclear bombs and whatnot. But I think that financially people need to prepare. And birds can help you with anything. Just look to them. And I think the next big disaster may have to do with money. My opinion.
It may very well. I mean, it could hit us from any side. There's so many things going on today, but certainly the financial collapse that has been long predicted is in the offing. So I agree with you. Yeah, people are going to have a whole different way of living if that occurs. So you're right, but I think we do need to return to nature and these wonderful birds who have so much knowledge. And I refer to one Native American elder who said, every animal knows more than you do, and that's absolutely true.
Yes.
That's so true. That's so true. And woodpeckers, by the way, are good. They tell us about taking care of details, and they're also good carpenters and keeping your home. So sometimes in the coming days, look to the woodpeckers and see what they're telling you about your life.
Oh,
nice.
That's good advice. Yes, we're all going to do. Well, definitely going to look at woodpeckers, and we have them around here, some pretty big ones too. So I'm going to ask for their guidance.
Yeah, it works.
Well, thank you so much, Evan. It's been an absolute pleasure, a delight to get to know you, and thank you for sharing all of what you've shared this evening with us and our wonderful audience. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Much.
It's been fun. It's really great.
We'll have you back again for sure.
Okay, give me a call anytime.
We will. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Bye now.
Yeah, bye-bye.
So, Becky, you still have one more thing to do tonight, which
yes,
is
I
to
do.
deliver a message.
Yes, and this message from the elders is to Carol. Your message is, no longer shall you dwell in sorrow. Move forward. Embrace joy again. Nyasa nondareka hihishikimia andara asiato shu. Nanyasa hate, Carol. We are with you. And that is Carol's message.
Oh, beautiful. Well, Carol, I hope you're listening tonight and you have received this message with an open heart.
Yes. Thank you. This was great, Patricia.
This was great fun, Becky. I'm just so enjoying this with you and with our audience. It's been a wonderful show, and gosh, such great information.
Oh, it is. It truly is. See, you can find answers in all of nature, anywhere. I mean, the Creator put it right there for us.
I know. We've just got to learn to listen, and with Evan's book as a resource, I think there's a lot there that we can then, take to the next level with our own personal experiences.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Becky.
You.
This has been great, and we will see you all next week. We'll be speaking with you again on another exciting topic with another exciting guest. So everybody have a terrific week. Be safe, enjoy, and we will be coming back to you before you know it. Really
next
soon.
week.
Yes.
Night, Patricia.
Good night, Becky.
Night, everyone.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural.